nice to be company. Welcome to Sunday morning. It's the 27th of September. Yeah! I shouldn't really be like that. I should be, boo, because England lost to Wales yesterday. I don't know how we managed that one. I mean, they were about 3 men down, weren't they? I mean, what were we playing? I've got no idea, but much depression in the country. Morrissey, the dreary singer, has been advised to stick to the day job. His first novel is the biggest pile of doggy-doos you've ever read in your entire life. The Last Waltz of the Tacky Earners, Ola Jordan's Last Calendar, with a bit of luck, and Christina Rihanoff. They're trying to clamp down on all of that tackiness, but there again, once a tacky, always a tacky. The Voice has got a new boy, and Terry Christian slams Katie Hopkins. Terry who? You're very welcome to Sunday. It's the 27th of September. Much deep depression. Aled Jones was tweeting how excited he was. He's at a Bill sick. Wales won, and England came second. OK. It's grimmy up north. This is where something to do with the television programme. All the others are going to Barbados and nice houses, Los Angeles. And if you're being mentored by Nick Grimshaw, you get to go to Manchester. I'll get your money back as quick as possible. The new James Bond theme, personally, I like it. I do like it. Seriously. I'm not a fan of Sam Smith, but I do like the song. Fury of the Alton Towers girl who lost a leg as the bosses tell her we've lost a lot of money. We're putting the ride back on again. And Eugenie's holiday ban. This old bag just can't get out there and work, can she? Bone idle, hashtag. Ha ha ha. And the SNP chief, Nicola Sturgeon, backs tracks on her pledge to give a home to Syrian refugees. I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon, she's now said. And Terry Christian, in his column today, slams Katie Hopkins. Terry who? They put him down as a television and radio presenter. I thought pundit. I don't think they actually allow him to present anything, do they? I mean, he's so sort of 10 years ago, I think. And the Last Waltz of the Tacky Earners. Yes, a few of the old bags in Strictly Come Dancing obviously rate themselves as something, and so they bring out calendars. Luckily, the BBC's clamping down. We don't want any more little Ola Jordans anywhere, thank you very much indeed. And Christina Rihanoff, really a little bit bored with that one there. Jeremy Kyle's marriage breaks up, and he's asked for privacy. I don't think so. I don't think so. No, that's how you make your living. You expose other people's failings. And when a couple were on the other... Was it on the other week or something? There was one girl, and she said there, I've not been getting very much sex. And Jeremy Kyle said, no, I've not been having very much sex either. Turns out his wife is having loads of sex. Loads of sex. The Sun on Sunday put her on a front page. This is Jeremy Kyle's wife, who's called Carla. And she's been meeting, apparently, a polo player. And they've been, like, shaking the bedhead. She said he was away in America, and so they've been sort of 20 sex romps. Fancy counting them. You imagine counting your... Well, I suppose you would, really. It's a case of every time you see Jeremy Kyle on the television, you go, I know something you don't know. It's almost like a secret, isn't it? But Jeremy Kyle has asked for privacy. Interestingly enough, I think it's either Kyle's lawyers or this England polo player's lawyers who tried to block the story. So I'm suspecting it's probably Kyle, isn't it? I would think so. Why would the polo player who's telling you about it be trying to block a story? So I'm assuming it's actually come from him. I mean, to be honest with you, and to be brutally honest on a Sunday morning, and we try and be brutally honest, it's not really got anything to do with us if Jeremy Kyle can't keep his marriage together. That's nothing to do with me or you or anybody else. It's up to him and his wife, who quite clearly puts it about a bit. You know, I mean, you'd think if you're married to somebody on television and you're going to have an affair, why not split up, then have the affair? Don't carry on with a fake sort of marriage thing. And this bloke, who's very good looking, you can understand why she'd be... I suppose people think they can get away with it. Unfortunately, if you've got a high-profile relationship, you can't get away with it. Because somebody somewhere is going to spill the beans. I mean, at the moment, they can't get any response from Kyle or his wife, but I wouldn't have thought you would. I seriously wouldn't have thought you would. I mean, it makes him look silly, makes her look a bit cheap, but, you know, he's a good-looking boy, he's a polo player, and Princess Diana liked polo players. She liked polo players a lot, you know, because polo players are fit, very fit, and they're, generally speaking, a bit well-heeled. They're also, except if they're doing it in Essex, in which case it's a little bit tacky, but generally speaking, they're a bit well-heeled, and they've got a bit of money. So, and she's quite glamorous, Kyle's wife, but he does spend his life ridiculing people on television for their shenanigans. So, unfortunately, sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander, And I like him. I don't like the basis of the programme because I'm a bit bored with toothless wonders going on there with tattoos claiming you had sex with my mum and now she's pregnant with your kid and I want a DNA test because I'm pregnant with him as well and all. And that it's honestly, it's ghastly, horrible, cheap, tacky people. Tacky people. You see them walking down the high street, tracksuit bottoms, sort of pink faded G-string. This is the blokes. We'll see what the women are wearing. And they go out there and you look at and you think, oh dear, I know what and they've got a fag in their mouth and they've got a pram with multicoloured children and they're pushing it down the road and they're on the phone. They're always on the phone. Who they're talking to, I've got no idea. Next client, I suppose. But every time we read, and we do thrive on it, don't we, in this country, and it's an awful thing to say that, come a Sunday morning, people tune into this radio to find out which celebrities have been up to a bit of shenanigans. And the more shenanigans they've been up to, the more we kind of like it. The more we thrive on it, because as a nation, we like gossip. Gossip is good for us. It's been proven before. Gossip and getting outraged is very good for you. I noticed Christo get a little bit outraged earlier on. He's obviously had disasters with sort of taxis recently. And we've all had disasters with taxis. He seems to they just don't bother turning up for him. But then again, if I was a taxi driver, I wouldn't want to turn up for him either. So it's, who have you got in the back of the car? Christo. It's not like sort of saying, who you got in the back of the cab? Steve Allen. It's like, yeah, I've got Steve Allen in the back of the cab. We go yesterday because everybody was off yesterday. It's great. So I thought I'll get out of Twickenham because of the rugby. And I don't want to mention it again because I'll cry. And I thought I'll go down and see the godchildren. Not been down there. They haven't seen the new car. So I nipped down there to see them, and we were all together, which was nice. So there was about 5, 6, there was 7 of us yesterday. So we decide that because of the rugby in Twickenham, they had anticipated that I would not be wanting to get home too late. Because normally when I go down, I'm home about 10:30, climb into bed, zonk, out, good night, thank you very much indeed, and then wake up in the morning. Because of the rugby, I didn't want to risk it. 82,000 people, depending on who was going to... And bearing in mind, at this time, we didn't know who'd actually won. I didn't know till this morning. And so they said, listen, tell you what we do. We're going to go out to a pub, and we're going to have a pub lunch, so you'll be finished by about 5 or 6 o'clock, and then it'll be... then you can get back home again. So I thought, that's brilliant. But in the meantime, we went to Brentwood, which, as you know, is where my parents had a house for a long time in Westcott Road. And, but of course, they had loads of road closures on as well. So anyway, we parked up. One person wanted to go to the jewellers to get a band adjusted on a ring. And then we thought we'd go and get a cup of coffee, as you do. As you do. You sort of, you wander up the high street. And the good thing is, in Brentwood, Gemma Collins doesn't have a shop anymore. That's gone. And I think the Fahir's sisters have still got theirs. Whether they're in it half the time, I really couldn't tell you. And Joey Essex might or might not have a shop. I've got no idea. Anyway, you do not see anybody who looks like the old trouts on the Only Way Is Essex. You really don't. You don't see anybody who is over-made up wearing these sort of clothes. Well, that's what we thought. And up until the moment that we were leaving Brentwood, we didn't see anybody. We didn't see anybody who looked like they were really, advertising in phone boxes and looking a little bit awful. Because when you see them in Towie, they're made up like drag queens. The people of Brentwood are perfectly normal. Perfectly normal. In fact, a couple of shops I spoke to the other day, they don't even entertain them going in the shops. They don't want them there. They brought the wrong element into Brentwood. Might be all right for Sugar Hut if you like that kind of thing, but there again, I think that appeals to certain sorts of people. Wouldn't be us going there. So anyway, we're walking up and down the high street and we're having a look in shops. Went to a kitchen shop. I bought a couple of big mugs, which was quite nice. Everybody very friendly. Everybody just nice. And again, still nobody who looks like the old dragons in Towie. And we get to the end of the high street and we see an ice cream shop. And so we go, should we have an ice cream instead? And so we have, you know what it's like when 7 of you pile into a shop and you have a look and they had all sorts of things. They had green meringue or something. Well, I cannot remember. Mango and coconut and, it was just wonderful flavours. And so we all had a tub with two flavours in each one. And we decided to sit down. And it was delicious. I had, I think, what did I have? I think I must have had pistachio and mango. Delicious. I mean, just delicious. And so we're sort of sitting in this ice cream parlour, for want of a better description, that also does coffee and paninis and all sorts of nice things. But we didn't know about that. We just had the ice cream. So we said, can we sit down? They went, yeah. So we sat down and we're chatting away. We take up 2 tables because there's enough of us. And then I was aware, out of the corner of my eye, of the man coming from behind the counter and coming over. I thought, he's going to ask us to leave or something like that. And he said, excuse me, he said, are you Steve? You can tell what's coming, can't you? So I said, yes. He said, I could have taken you and Dale years ago in the back of my cab. I said, you recognise me from all those years ago? Because they don't do social media, I discovered, in this ice cream parlour, which is called Rossi. And so we were sort of chatting away. He said, it generally takes people about 5 seconds to get round to the fact I listen to your programme. He said, me and the wife listen to your programme every day. He said, we wake up listening to your programme. So I said, oh, that's very nice indeed. And then he goes to the back of the shop, and we'd sort of been chatting a bit. And I thought, he's not going to produce the wife, surely. No, she's behind the counter. So she comes over, so he says, do you know who this is? So she looks at me, she goes, no, because they don't have social media. So they've got no idea what I look like. Well, she didn't have anyway. And so she went, you Steve Allen? And so I went, yes. No. So we go through this thing of, you Steve Allen? We listen to you every morning, with this and that. Anyway, we got on like a house on fire. So I said, I'm going to put you up on Twitter. So they went, well, it doesn't make any difference because we don't have social media, so we don't see these kind of things. So I know they're going to be listening this morning because they wake up and listen to this programme, and it's generally about this time every single day. So to the nice couple who own Rossi's in Brentwood, which was very busy, I have to say, because they do ice cream and paninis and all sorts of things like that. And we had a very nice time indeed. It was nice to meet you as well yesterday. So anyway, so we leave Rossi's, and we'd been chatting about... She said, the reason I like you, she said, because you speak your mind. You say what everybody else is thinking. She said, I'm a bit like that as well. I said, yes, sometimes it gets us into trouble. I said, but 9 out of 10 times, all the people I bump into say exactly the same to me. I agree with everything you say. Might be a little bit that you don't agree with, but I mean, good God, not even the Almighty gets everybody. So we were generally quite happy. Anyway, so we walked back down the high street. We had a look in a couple of sort of furniture-type shops selling bric-a-brac and all sorts of things like that. That was very nice. And then we had to go to Bishop Stortford to drop the youngest off because she was going for a meeting with a friend over there, and then we had to go back again. Anyway, we get to the Slug and Lettuce, which is opposite Sugar Hut, almost directly opposite, almost practically opposite. My God, it was full of uglies. Seriously. In fact, at one point, I nearly pointed. There was this grotesque creature sitting in the window in daylight. You know, you'd expect it to come out if the moon disappeared behind a cloud, in a sort of like animal print onesie kind of thing. I mean, it was really tacky, with this grotesque makeup, and sitting with some bloke. I mean, I wanted to go in there. We all wanted to go in and say to him, you don't seriously think this is attractive, do it? Please tell me you don't. Please tell me there's a guide dog round here somewhere, or you've got a stick. That she was so grotesque. And then in the next... And they happened to sit in the window. If you're really ugly, here is some advice. If you're really ugly, do not sit in the window of pubs or bars, OK? It makes you look awful. It makes it look like Amsterdam. OK? Get my drift? Anyway, we looked at her, and I happened to point at the same time to go, look at this here. I mean, it was a case of, dear Lord, what do you look like? Why are you out in daylight hours looking like that? So that was the only place in Brentwood. So the Slug and Lettuce obviously attracts those sort of people. It was really tragic. It was fascinating listening to Christo earlier on, talking about demonisation and people who'd been demonised. It turned out it was mainly African and witch doctors and all that kind of thing. Then he had some bloke on from Leicester who claimed to do it with the power of the Lord. Which I thought was a little bit of an over-exaggeration. And he couldn't quite explain to Christo. It seemed to take ages to get an answer out of him onto what he actually did that that Christo couldn't do with the power of Christo. And I was sort of listening to it, waiting for this bloke who was getting himself in a dreadful state and was with all people who claim to do these things with the power of the Lord. It's a gross exaggeration, but they can't justify it. They can't actually give you hard and fast rules. So I thought we were on a hiding to nothing on this one. We were going round and round and round and round. And I kept thinking, you're not going to get an answer. And then eventually he said, oh, it was with the Holy Ghost. So it wasn't actually with what he said to start with. And he lays hands on. I mean, Christo could probably do exactly the same thing and get the same result. Because what these people come up with is a load of basically mumbo-jumbo, you know, trying to draw out the impurity and all this kind of garbage that goes on. And Christo was quite rightly putting forward, you know, the argument saying, but I can do all of that anyway. If somebody's a bit depressed, I can talk to them and get them out of the depression. And this guy was saying, yeah, but, you know, I'm doing it with the power of the Lord and all this kind of stuff. But you're banging your head against a brick wall. Christo, as you know, is an atheist. He doesn't believe in anything like that at all. He believes in the power of Christo. He does not believe in the power of anything else. He's not remotely interested in whatever happened in biblical times years and years ago. And then this bloke started going on, and I was waiting for the pickup about Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden and stuff like that. And that's what worried me a little bit. I thought to myself, because, you know, is Christo going to come back with, well, really, this is where the earth originated. It was a big bang, and it wasn't the Garden of Eden, and it wasn't Adam and Eve. But I thought there's no point in going down that route, because we managed to get very little out of him on the subject of how he healed people who had the Holy Spirit going in there, and how, you know, things weren't all right in the real world, and that's why he was a minister. With what ordination qualities, I've got no idea. With what authority he had this, whether he was a proper ordained minister or whether it was one of these crackpot things on the internet. Because I think I went on the internet some years ago when we were in another building, and I managed to get myself ordained in about 5 seconds. And apparently I was now able to do births, marriages and deaths because I'd got this qualification from this website. So I suppose anybody could just about get away with it. Patrick has downloaded the new Sam Smith tune. Very dark and very Bond. It will work when attached to the movie. Not the best tune. No, I agree with you. Not the best tune, but you can tell it's a big orchestra, can't you? We listened to it 3 times in the car yesterday, and there were certain bits of it where I thought, oh, it sounds a bit like this tune, or it sounds a bit like that tune, or they've taken a bit from here. Either way, I think it works. It's a nice piece of music. It's certainly it's going to be a nice album, I would think. What's happening now on the Jeremy Kyle show is guests throwing it back in his face when he offers advice about promiscuity. Well, see, the trouble is he's not promiscuous. It turns out the wife and this polo player, he said in his interview in the paper, this is never anything more. It's not a relationship, it's sex. And I have heard of this kind of thing before. It is just sex. And he said here that nobody in there, because she was into polo as well, nobody in the set, and you can't imagine Jeremy Kyle playing polo. He's off around the world doing his thing. He expects the mother of his children to be good as gold and staying at home, but of course she's out, and he said she was obviously flattered to have sex with a younger man, and he's obviously covered his back on this one. And the reason I say that is because if you read into the article, and he's a former pupil at Wellington College in Crowthorne, he had a third late-night meeting with Carla in June, and he saved all the texts between them. And that's when you know somebody's going to go and say, did you have an affair with this bloke? No. So why did you write on this thing here, make sure you're not seen when you come in the back of the house? You know, why would you write things like that? So, and bearing in mind that Jeremy Kyle had been married before, she was the result of a game show on a radio station he worked for, and she was the prize. It was the prize, it was a very tacky prize. It was, I think, called something like Two Strangers and a Wedding. And then the marriage gave up, and then he picked up on her. It was always the talk of the business that he'd sort of picked up sloppy seconds in a competition. But they had children, and it was all fine. Then obviously, as in the case of a lot of people's marriages, not everybody, but in a lot of marriages, all of a sudden somebody strays. And she strayed quite a number of times. So he's not going to enjoy the fact that he's on the front page of the papers. But as one woman says in the paper today, he's been blasted for asking the public to respect his privacy, and there's some woman here who claims his television show helped destroy hers. She was dragged through the courts, appeared in national newspapers, when she was beaten by her partner after appearing on the ITV programme. She went on the show in 2009 to take a lie detector test in an attempt to rescue their relationship after failing the test for kissing somebody whilst on a break from Just. Mum of 2, Rebecca, said Kyle humiliated her in front of a studio audience. Now, I have to defend him on this, because all these people sign a thing. They know what the programme is. If you're going on the Jeremy Kyle show, he's going to shout. That's why he gets away with it, because they're all playing the game. Why did you sleep with her? Kind of thing. You know, you get that sort of attitude. So he can't then complain when the press sleep on his back on this one, and it's going to run all week. It's going to run all week. Oh, it's not the most pleasant thing. He should have expected a lot more from her. She's quite clearly, you know, I mean, she's the mother of his children, but sleeping with a young, good-looking polo player, I don't know. Perhaps that goes on a lot in that set. I don't know. I've never played polo. Nobody's ever invited me to play polo. I don't get to do things like that. Bit of a shame, innit? But it doesn't really matter. 84850 steve at lbc.co.uk. Everything in on the programme this morning. I think, actually, was it Christo was talking about the internet trolls, you know, people who sort of write vile things. I just tend to find it so simple. If somebody writes you something vile, you just click on it, it deletes it, send it to the rubbish bin. You don't see them ever again. I don't know why he doesn't do that. I was going to say to him the other day, if you get anything on Twitter, just delete, just block them, and then somebody else can read them. But you know if it's real because it's got a tick on it. If it don't have a tick, it ain't real. Simple as that. Certainly in my case. I've had one before who was somebody pretending to be me, mentally ill, some serious mental illness. You know, somebody who's very lonely, they don't have a lot going on, they probably don't have a job, and as I say, all we do here is, because Global's so big, we just get the police involved. End of story. So easy. Frankie Valli's in London in the next 2 weeks, says Tom in Canada. If you can't get him on, get in touch with me. Yes, I mean, I think we tried last time. I've got Tom Jones coming in next week, which I'm very much looking forward to. Tom Jones will be in the studio for me. And message on to Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. #1 fan, says Jenny. It's back starring Jason Donovan at the New Wimbledon Theatre from the 5th of October to the 10th of October. Love Jason. Love Jason. He's in this building a lot of the time. Also, can you start a campaign, says Howard, to bring back the news of the world? Sunday is not the same without it. He says, for your information, I appeared 4 times on the front page. Never sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Is that a good thing? Bad thing? Who knows? We shall find out, no doubt, as the days, the weeks and the months go by. More stories in the papers. Ollie Love split. This is... X Factor host Ollie Murs has split from his long-term love, the Sun can reveal. And apparently, wait for this one, here we go. Why have they split? Is she seeing somebody? Is he seeing somebody? Or is it something else? The answer is, it's something else. They've been together, I think, for about 3 years, and it finished last week. Ollie had previously gushed about their relationship, calling it life-changing. Apparently, the stresses of the X Factor. Oh, do me a favour. God in heaven. What stress? What stress, dear? What stress would you have? You go in there, somebody faffs around with your hair and poofs it all up. Somebody puts makeup on your face and you stand in front of a camera and millions of people see you. What stress, dear? It's like this programme. I arrive in the studio. I generally hear about an hour in advance. I have to be, because we've got to have a costume fitting. And I go to the costume fitting, and sometimes they have to adjust the trousers, depending on whether I'm breathing in or out at the time. And then I go to makeup. Then they'll do hair. Well, I say do hair. They all sit around laughing, and I just sort of sit there in tears. And then I get made a cup of coffee. Somebody then comes over and says, would you like the full English? In which case the day is completely different. And then I wander into the studio. I sit down with the producer, Will. He says, OK, what do you want to do today? And I sit there blankly for a few seconds, and then he starts feverishly typing. And then we end up with a programme. At the end of this show today at 8 o'clock, I will leave this studio. I will go back round to hair and makeup. I will give the hair back. They will take the clothes off my body. They'll put my grubby little tracksuit on with my naff trainers. I'll have a pair of pink pants sticking up the back and a T-shirt showing my bare midriff. I shall stick a pair of sunglasses on my face and I shall walk out into the big bad world. And then I shall turn up here again tomorrow morning. And that's the glamour of radio. There is no stress involved. The only stress is whether or not you can wake up with the alarm clock. So when they go, he couldn't keep his relationship together because of stress. Why do I get the feeling there's somebody going to emerge in this relationship around the corner? Why do I get this feeling? Why do I get a feeling there's something going to happen over the next week or so? Why have I got this feeling? I don't know. 2 celebrities this week. 2 celebrities today in the papers. What have they done? They've parked in disabled bays. Oh, my goodness me. Really, the lowest, scuzziest thing ever to do. One is John Terry. Well, that kind of speaks for itself, because he's done it before. This time he called into Isha to go and get a kebab, and he parked in a disabled bay. Shame on you, Mr. Terry. Shame on you. Can't be bothered to walk, can you? What's the matter? Something the matter with your legs? Something the matter with them? The other one, Danny Dyer. 4 hours. He parked in a disabled bay, leaving some poor woman hobbling across the car park. Shame on you, Mr. Dyer. Shame on you. Got something the matter with your legs as well? Perhaps you need to get together with John Terry. Perhaps you need to go and get sorted out by a physio. There's obviously something the matter with you, mentally. disgraceful, honestly. These people who are more than capable of walking. Mind you, old Dyer smokes like a trooper, so he might be sort of dying. Well, I've got no idea. There must be something the matter why you'd park in a disabled bay. He doesn't carry a disabled sticker, does he? I want to get it wrong or something like that. But, I mean, you don't park in a disabled bay in a car park. You put it in a normal bay. Come on. And John Terry, you've been told before, mate. Naughty, naughty. Mind you, your family's a bit naughty, naughty, aren't they? So, you know, you mustn't park on a disabled bay. It's not for you, dear. It's not for you, it's for other people. People who are genuinely disabled. As indeed you might be yourself one day. Who knows? Somebody says, your view of ugliness may be different to others. No, it's not. Once you're ugly, you're ugly. No, there's no such... Are you subscribing to that beauty's in the eye of the beholder? Oh, grow up, for goodness sake. No, if you're ugly, and you know it. You probably look in the mirror now. There you are, you're an ugly. Loads of people are uglies. You don't need to... There's no point... You know, ugly is not sort of just in the eye of the beholder. It's not just, you know, what I see as ugly. Everybody sees them as ugly. You know, that's the way it is. I'm sorry. Sorry to burst your bubble in the morning. But, you know, if you're an ugly person, you know you're an ugly person. That's why you look with envy at people who are attractive. Talking of people who are attractive... The Beckhams. They're trying to make out in the newspapers, and they've been doing this for about the past week, that the tensions are sort of between them. Like most marriages. If it's true, it's like most marriages, isn't it? There would be tension. There would be times when, in a relationship, you know, you would argue with somebody and you go, oh, I can't stand you. I can't stand it. We should disappear. And so Victoria gets slightly tiddled the other day. It's because she doesn't eat any food. So 2 glasses of wine and she's practically doing impressions of bury me in a Y-shaped coffin. And so she seriously, she comes out, she can't keep her legs. She can't stand up in heels, because if you put her in flats, you'd never see her. She disappears. So they put her in heels, and so she comes out at this party. She's clinging on to Dave, who looks furious. Well, difficult to tell whether Dave's furious or he's just putting on one of his butch faces. I can't tell. Is that one of his camera faces, you know, to try and look mean and moody? Anyway, she's clinging on to him. Unfortunately, there is a wet patch on her jeans. She claims that she spilt a glass of wine down herself. I don't think the press bought into it at all. I really don't think the press... I think what happened... Because if you spill a glass of wine down yourself, you don't just spill it in one area. It goes all over you, doesn't it? Come on, we all know what happens. You spill a glass of wine and you get half a... No, she only had it in one section of her body where it maybe could have emanated from. So now they're saying not only can she not handle her drink, but she can't remember to go to toilet either. And so they've got this picture. They apparently had words, so they say. I'm never too convinced by that. I think that they go, but of course they are great parents. It's like, Peter Andre, biggest buffoon under the sun, but he loves his kids, and he'll always weave his kids into everything he does, because that's Peter Andre, because he's a bit sickly sweet. He's a bit He's a bit Anthea Turner. Anthea Turner is a little bit too saccharine. She's a little bit Princess, was it Tippy Toes, Eamon Holmes called her? Princess Tippy, and she is like that. That's poor old Anthea Turner. But, the brand is worth a bit of money for the Beckhams, so as long as she can sort of cut down on the boozing at parties, that'll be better. I think best when she goes out, just have a lemonade or something, or, I don't know, some juice or something. Something that she could get part of her 5 a day from. So give her some mango juice or things like that. But don't let her anywhere near the vino, because because she doesn't eat anything, she can't handle it. And she won't eat anything because she's worried about putting on the weight. But if you see her in real life... And I've sat next to her, remember, she's this thin. She's seriously thin. Very, very thin. Very, very thin indeed. But, so please eat more. Amy... Oh, when we went to Brentwood yesterday, we did see Amy Charles's little boutique. That was quite sweet. And Chloe Sims's. God, that looks tacky. That looks real tacky. But there again, it appeals to these tacky people who are sitting in a slug and lettuce in the window yesterday. I should have taken a picture. I've never seen... I didn't realise it was possible to actually get so many ugly people in one bar, all sitting in the window as well. Another one here. What do producers actually do? Well, they produce. They produce the programme. That's what producers do. That's why they get paid a huge amount of money. And that's what they do. They produce things. I remember having a producer once years ago, and I said, we need to find so-and-so, so-and-so. And I said, well, I can't. I said, well, you can. That's why you're employed as a producer. You produce a guest. You produce a programme. It's the producer's job to push all the buttons, unlike Christo, who pushes his own buttons in more than one way. I can't do that. I have an inability to push buttons. I cannot hand I cannot coordinate everything at the same time. So I have a producer who does it. Lots of us have them. You know, James O'Brien has them. He's got a terrible habit. Did I mention James O'Brien's habit? I'll do it tomorrow morning for you. Terrible habit. I remembered it the other day. I remember thinking, I must mention that on the programme. I suddenly remembered as I used the implement today. I remember thinking, no. Anyway, so Nick Ferrari, he has a producer. Loads of people. Ian Dale's got a producer. There's a few people here, like Nick Abbott. Nick Abbott can drive a desk because he's got the ability, and Christo can do it. I can't do it. And so that's why I have a producer. Will pushes the buttons, and he'll sort of, get the stuff out for the free podcast. If necessary, he'd probably go and get me a cup of coffee, but I can manage to do something by myself most of the time. So that's what producers do. They produce things. Yes, I am well aware, Ollie Mers, that Caroline Flack has split with her other half, and didn't he say that he liked her a lot? That's why I gently offered a hint that Ollie Mers splits with his girlfriend. You don't think it's another one of these couples who think they're going to make it as television's golden couple? And we got Rochelle Humes. Oh, she's a bit like a navvy, isn't she, poor soul? You could tart somebody up, but they open their mouth and they let themselves down badly. And so they've got that person. Then you've got various other sort of... They think they're going to be the next sort of golden couple on the next Richard and Judy, which, of course, isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's like Daniela Westbrook and, I don't know, any sort of bloke round the corner who's got some stuff for sale. That would make perfect sense in this day and age. But they all want to do it. So I don't know whether or not Ollie Mers has split up with his girlfriend because they've just reached the end, or whether or not people stray nowadays. I would hate to think he was straying. I would hate to think that Caroline Flacker got her evil claws into him. I would hate to think of that. But we'll have to watch the papers this week and find out. Another one here. A lot of people talking about Jeremy Kyle and saying, well, perhaps now he's got a taste of his own medicine. The press are going to quiz him about his relationship with his wife. But he has admitted on television that they haven't had sex for ages and ages. And it turns out, well, she wouldn't because she's with the polo player. But it is just that. It is just that. It's just it's a relationship, not a physical relationship. Jackie in Ascot says, "Did you manage to see Peter Andre in Strictly? If not, you must." Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that he's good, or does that mean that he's a bit creepy? Because he's on the picture. He's on the pages of Fabulous magazine today. This is Peter Andre, who seems to think that he's good-looking, and so he does these sort of posy things. It's a bit pretentious, because when you see him in real life, he's a bit naff, actually. The nose could do with doing, the hair's a bit skew-whiff, and he's now getting on a bit. What is he now, 45, 50? Something like that. Creeping on, but still Pete loves his kids, and that's all that matters. Lily Allen is now described as a troubled singer. Troubled is when they can't think of anything else to write about somebody, and they go, she's troubled. You go, what does that mean? They go, no, troubled, troubled. It means that, nothing's going right in her life. Anyway, apparently, they can reveal, the paper, that she spent the past week at Claridge's, where rooms cost around £1,000 a night. They make it out to be something like £1,000 a night. Who can afford that? Well, Lily Allen can. So if she wants to stay there for a week, that's £5,000. It's all tax deductible, I should imagine. And while the mum of two was spotted at a string of London Fashion Week bashes, hubby Sam Cooper and their daughters stayed at the family home in the countryside. So she's troubled. I think she's a bit emotional. I think perhaps she needs to get back in the recording studio, but I'm not sure if that's actually on the cards. I don't think it's on the cards at the moment. So that's why they put down troubled, and the rest of it you just have to make up for yourself as you go along. It's so true, Steve, says Nick in Bexley, poor soul. He said, why do ugly people always sit in the window of coffee shops? Yeah, I mean, it's like, why do the morbidly obese sit in the front window of Kentucky Fried Chicken? They should be moved. They should be moved like that. And I did get a bit angry the other day, and I nearly used bad language. Do you remember the bloke from the forces who gets injured on the base and goes to hospital, and they shove him in a corridor? They don't want him on display in his uniform, because apparently they've had an altercation between a patient and somebody in uniform before. Well, to make it worse, this hospital, which carries the Queen Mother's name, so shame on them, and they should be avoided like the plague. What a vile bunch of people they must be, shoving somebody in a corridor because he's in a uniform. I'm sorry. These people need to be taken out and sort of thrown out on the scrap heap. Then it turns out the shop inside the hospital didn't stock the paper that ran the story. How funny is that? You should go round there and plaster the paper up all over the place. What horrible people they must be. And carrying the Queen Mother's name as well. Even worse. So Nick says, people are always sitting in the window of coffee shops. He said, sometimes I have to drag my jaw off the floor. Yes, I mean, why do they want to sit in the window? Is it because they really believe that they are attractive? Because these ones at the Slug and Lettuce, I mean, it kind of... In fact, seriously, I thought that the pub was named after them. On my travels around Blackpool, says Dennis, I noticed a lot of Baptist churches in the area. But it was on my way through St Anne's to Lytham St Anne's. I saw one called the Carpenter of Nazareth. And draped across the railings there was a big white sign with black writing which said, the Carpenter of Nazareth needs joiners. I think that's quite good, isn't it? I like the sign outside the church round my way. You know, looking for a good time? Come in here today and meet the Lord. And somebody had written underneath on the sign, if you're looking for an even better time, call Janice on 0208 3... So we did. Every week there seems to be another story about failed kids' company. This gets worse and worse and worse. This time, the accusation is of them employing a man who originally was accused of murdering Damilola Taylor, but he was eventually acquitted. This is Hassan Jihad, who's 29. He was employed as a driver. At the time, kids' company boss Camilla moved him out of his South London council house and paid the rent on his new home. She was quite clearly just using the money for her own purposes. That's all it turned out to be. I mean, how this woman has not been investigated before. Everybody I've spoken to goes, you wait, there's more stuff to come out. Anyway, a source said Hassan is one of Camilla's favourites. What? She's known him and his family for 15 years. They've all received money and perks. He was still a client of the charity when it closed last month. A client! Hassan worked at Kids Company as an odd job man and delivery driver. In 2010, he got a 2-year jail term after being convicted of robbery, false imprisonment and theft. His rap sheet includes convictions for several robberies and thefts. Kids Company closed their doors, you remember, as Camilla bleated to anybody who'd listen to this woman that 36,000 children were now at risk. So immediately they set up a hotline just to make sure these vulnerable children were looked after. How many calls? 2. She quite clearly is a compulsive liar and doesn't even know it. Anyway, there was drug-taking allegations, sexual abuse on the premises, mismanagement, financial and otherwise. Last night, Damilola's father, Richard, praised the son for their investigation. It's come at just the right time, and there should be a further inquiry into the relationship between Hassan Jihad and Kids Company. They sound like a ghastly thing, but they got away with it for donkey's years, didn't they? They absolutely got away with it. And, of course, the moment the cash cow was stopped, she was bleating on every television and radio programme as to, you know, how many people were going to suffer, and it turned out there was no such thing at all. So how much money did they have, and where did it all go, is the big question, isn't it? One says, Peter Andre, I'm wondering if you saw the same article I did in one of the broadsheets on him. They're tipping him to win. I don't know how they can be. I mean, you know, he did. I think they go, oh, Peter, I should imagine it's his agent putting out loads of stories. There was another one the other day, Peter could be the face of ITV's new motoring programme. Well, as Peter Andre's presenting skills are, let's just call them limited, I would think that any programme that involves Peter Andre in is just, I mean, doomed to failure as far as I'm concerned. They even dropped his reality show. It was so dull. He doesn't do anything. They just arranged a few of his fans to turn up somewhere, and Pete sort of got out of the car, signed some autographs. He's beginning to look a little bit naff, I'm afraid. Brentwood sounded good, says Noreen. Ice creams all round. Yep. And you mentioned Jason Donovan. Many years ago, my friend and I took her daughter to see him at Wembley. The men went for a curry. When the men came back to collect us, he was still on, but the doors had been opening, ready for the end of the show. Brian and Tony crept in and promptly got thrown out. The embarrassment. Did you see Strictly? Peter Andre was very good, top of the leaderboard. Also, the lady from Call the Midwife was good. I thought so, anyway. Yeah, she seemed to do quite well. And David says there is a hairdresser in Exmouth called Hairport. Always makes me chuckle. Yes. It's the only thing, you go in there and you pay the money to take something away from you. Paul says, I do go after fakers using disabled badges. I said the other week, somebody told me how to read them. There's an X or a Y in the middle which denotes male or female and their date of birth. If you see somebody 25 and the badge is for a 1965, then I call it in. I've started loads of TfL private hire vehicles about abusing them to get free parking. Oh, there's loads of people. I saw somebody the other day, 2 women, Sainsbury's at Hampton, get out in tracksuits, run across the car park. They parked in a disabled bay and they've got a sticker. Can't have been theirs. Cannot have been theirs. Crooks. They're all over the place. Cregan, Dale Cregan, anything that makes this man's life more miserable, we applaud. He's the cop killer, the one-eyed cop killer. I'm surprised, actually, nobody's sort of touched him in prison. He's furious. Oh, shame. After his sister risked his son's life by posting pictures of him on Facebook. The gangster's lad, Sonny Cregan, that doesn't go together, has been living at a secret address since Cregan murdered 2 mob rivals. Oh dear. Anyway, the one-eyed killer fears the boy is now in greater danger after his sister, Stacey, put a photograph of him on Facebook. Alongside, she commented that her adorable nephew was the spitting image of his dad. Oh, God. Stacey obviously not the brightest penny in the box, and not very popular at the moment. The threat to Sonny is still very real. Like Dale, his enemies have no morals and will do whatever it takes to take revenge. Uh-oh. Look out for something really dreadful happening. Oh, not Christina Rihanoff again. Strictly stars tough Russian childhood. Yeah, there's so many people who look like this in Russia, dear. And why she's wary of men. She's flogging a tatty book. And already they've managed to reduce the price of it, because it's obviously not shifting. Mainly because they can't find people who are interested in buying the blooming thing. Why would you really... I mean, be honest with you. Be honest with yourself. Why would you ever want to buy a book about Christina Rihanoff? Who would buy that? I could sell more copies than she could. My life's far more entertaining. Hers, Russia, went with loads of men, wrote story about it. How dull is that? Ian says, will Jeremy look at me, look at me? Do you see that on the He does do that a lot. I didn't realise until I saw it the other day. Look at me, look at me. I don't want to look at you, you're ugly. That's what they do, don't they? It's Paul Zerdin's line for one of his characters. Hey, ugly. Kyle now should have his wife on the show taking a lie detector test to find out how often she's been seeing the new boyfriend and then shouting, full house, full house. Why did she say that? Because she was lying. That's what it should be, shouldn't it, on the programme? Look at me, look at me. You're my wife, look at me. How many times did you cheat? Once? Twice? We took a lie detector test. Did you cheat more than 20 times? No, I didn't. Why did she say that? Because she's lying. She failed every single test. That's what we want to see on the programme. I'm banking it'll never happen, but, I'm secretly, in my heart of hearts, I'm hoping that ITV have gone, come on, really, I think that actually should be the style of the next programme. Repeater Andre, yes to both. I will look forward to your views tomorrow in case you don't want to watch all of the Saturday show. Who's on last, says Jackie and Escott. Ollie Mers gives me the creeps, Steve. Oh, I quite like Ollie Mers. I quite like. Sally says, unfortunately, Andre danced well last night. I say unfortunately, because should he win, can you imagine what would happen to his already enormous ego? Oh, God. Oh, that would be awful, wouldn't it? His ego is beyond and out of control completely. He is so... He's a bit big-headed, actually. It's not good. James said, did the producers produce you, or are you a divine creation? I think I'm more than a divine creation. I think I'm possibly a one-off. That's always a good thing, I think. You don't want two, do you? Too much of a good thing is dull, and so that's why there's just me. Do you think Jezza Kyle will get the polo advert? There are sort of... the trouble is, I don't want to lay into Jeremy Kyle too much, because it's not his fault. The marriage has obviously reached the end. If she's been... secretly seeing somebody else and getting it elsewhere. You can imagine when you climb into bed at the end of the day and he goes, so how... And she goes, no, really not, a headache. I've really got a headache. And that's why I remember the story of the husband climbing into bed, and just before he climbed into bed, he gave his wife an Anadin. She went, what's that for? He said, it's in case you get a headache. Because that's always the excuse, I've got a dreadful headache. I couldn't now. I don't get headaches. Consequently, I'm like an animal between the sheets. A total animal. A gazelle mainly attacked by a lion. That's the way it goes, I'm afraid. I'm just rubbish. I'm rubbish. I tell people that, I'm rubbish. Seriously, I'd rather just lie there, have a cup of cocoa, and turn the light off and listen to a DVD. All this other stuff, it's just boring, isn't it? Shall we cuddle? No, we shan't. This is what I get from Teddy all the time, come on. I've got all these... I like stuffed toys. There's a joke there somewhere, and I'll make it by myself probably during the news. But no, I'm serious. I just can't be bothered. It's, in the middle of winter, and it's been getting cold. Have you noticed how cold it is recently? When you get in, you go, and you walk around, the house in your shorts and a little T-shirt showing my midriff, just in case anybody should knock on the door. It's not a pleasant sight, and I've generally scared off most people. Jehovah's Witnesses won't even come to the door now. Seriously, they actually get as far as the door. I open the door in a towel, drop the towel, they're gone. It's just not happening anymore. I've got to think of some new way. of making myself attractive to people. I thought offering money might help. you know, or fruit, an orange or something like that. I mean, it's impossible at the moment because, generally speaking, I'm a bit like Del Boy in a bar. I have a drink and then fall over or embarrass myself. So that's not working. So I don't know what the next... I think perhaps a small advert, you know, perhaps in Loot or in the newsagent's window. You know, good-looking... Well, all right, take that bit out. Attractive... elderly, very elderly person seeks other person to share miserable jigsaws with. You know, and we could sit down and do a jigsaw, something like that. I've got new neighbours at the moment. They're East European, so we haven't actually had a conversation, but I'm sure we will. And then perhaps we'll have a cup of coffee, and then we progress on to the Prosecco. It's all very exciting, actually. So they're probably listening to this programme now going, I think we'll move again. I don't want to live next door to this bloke. He sounds far too worrying. Much depression in the country as England lose to Wales. They couldn't believe it either. It was terrible. Morrissey's been advised to stick to the day job. The critics have pulled apart his first novel. It's grimmy up north. If you're on X Factor and you're mentored by Nick Grimshaw, because apparently, hilarious though it might seem, he's got a radio programme. I don't know where that broadcasts, but he has a radio programme, and you're going to have to go to a house in Manchester. Not the same, not the same. Martin Freeman makes a direct plea to David Cameron to ban wild animals in circuses. A top MP says, I'm no Porky Pie teller, and I agree with him. He's not the name I've heard anyway. Fury of the Alton Towers girl who lost a leg as bosses tell her we've lost a lot of money. And Nicola Sturgeon, I'm not taking any Syrian refugees in. They've got the front page story today of the 20 sex romps with Jeremy Kyle's wife. He's a polo player. She apparently enjoys polo. He's been away in the country, out of the country, and the rest, as they say, is probably the everyday story of folk down in the burbs. A new move in the hunt for Madeleine McCann. Yes, just when you thought they weren't going to do something, apparently they're going back because there's been a spate of burglaries in Portugal. As I say, why the Portuguese police are not looking at it, I've got no idea. The celebrity chef's back, the thinner dinner trend, and Big Brother needs some big names. At the moment, it's all losers, isn't it, really? And luckily, we've seen the back of old Chloe, I Can Cry Without Any Tears, fraudulent Wicello, and her really odd boyfriend. And it was won by somebody out of The Apprentice, who nobody's ever heard of. It's tough for Toffee and Kids Company, who employed the man accused of murdering Damilola Taylor. As I say, it was the cash cow of all cash cows, wasn't it? Governments shoved in money, well-meaning people shoved in money. Alan Yentob was interviewed about Camilla, became very infuriated with the interviewer's close questioning. There was something that smelt rotten about that, and I'm surprised nobody saw through it, because anybody who ever met her said there was something not quite right. You couldn't put your finger on it. You don't know what it is. But then it turns out that she wasn't helping. I remember speaking to a well-known journalist. She wasn't helping 36,000 children or 6,000 or even 600. It turned out to be just, sort of friends. And they were having this money, and it was millions. Small wonder when they closed it down, she got a little bit uppity about it and started sort of saying, we're helping all these children. I don't think giving money is helping children at all. In fact, if anything, it wasn't. It was doing completely the opposite. Gary Lineker pulls out a match of the day. His mum's not very well. A picture of Miranda Hart. She puts her company into liquidation. She makes £3 million. That's what they had in the bank of this company here. £3,845,000. Wow. It's not bad, is it? Just goes to prove there is an awful lot of money in televisual things. Rolf Harris stole my innocence at the age of 7. He never said sorry, but called his victims money grabbers instead, says a lady called Wendy, who was abused at the age of 7 by Rolf Harris. Do you know, I still can't believe it. I know it seems really odd, doesn't it? After all that's been going on in the courts and with all these people, I must have been the only one who never thought Rolf Harris was slightly suspect at all. It wasn't until it all came out you suddenly realise that we don't know anything at all. And so she's waived her anonymity. The papers are saying, go on, study her picture, because he will get this paper in prison. He will get this paper in prison. And he's offered some ludicrous amount of money, £22,000. Well, Rolf Harris must be a multimillionaire. I would think there's a very good chance he's a multimillionaire. She wasn't just a star to me, she was the galaxy. That was Joan Collins on Jackie. I got a lovely letter from Jackie's agent the other day saying that she was very sorry she never came to see me last time she was in town, because she's been in to see me every other time, and this was the time, of course, that she fell ill, and so they whisked her back home, and she said she was very much looking forward to talking to you, but unfortunately, we had to go back home again. So I think that's a bit sad, isn't it, really? But we loved her to pieces. Adrian says there's a classic car show on at Kempton today. Why don't you come along? I would if I wasn't busy. Somebody says you are the sunshine of my day. I think it's life, actually, isn't it? I mean, I do know most of the Stevie Wonder songs, and everything from Fingertips onwards. Another one here talks about how good the In Conversations were this week. And don't forget, they're also available on viewing. I couldn't remember what it was called now, video, because we actually record all of them in the studio. So, in fact, you can go on to the LBC website and you can have a look through, and you can see the ones that we've done so far. And so you get Nick Hewer and Niamh Cusack today. You'll know her immediately, just in case the name doesn't quite sink in. You'll know her from Heartbeat. You recognise her voice immediately. And that programme is repeated at 9 o'clock this evening, but you will find the videos up on the LBC website. The new trauma. I was in two minds over this one this morning. This is the girl who was on the ride at Alton Towers, and she lost a leg. It was a total disaster, whichever way you look at it. And she's now said, because I did think the other week she'd been on television and she's talked about it. Now she's obviously going back through this sort of regressing, and she's saying, I don't know who actually will want to know me. Well, I mean, obviously she's a very attractive girl. The fact that she's only got one leg it does not stop people. I've seen people who are multiple amputees, and it doesn't stop then because the radiance comes from within them. She said the Alton Tower bosses told me they want to reopen the Smiler because they're losing millions. She says, I feel insulted. I wish they'd pull it down. Well, they're not going to pull it down. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to get that situation. It was a really unfortunate accident. I'm assuming unfortunate because I don't know the ins and outs of it at all. But they will want to reopen it, and they are right. They have lost millions. They lost loads and loads of money. I know that it doesn't make you feel any better, but at least you know that the treatment that you're getting for the loss of your leg is the best you can get anywhere in the world. So for that, you should be grateful. I know it probably doesn't seem it at the moment, but maybe sort of later in life. Lights, camera, auction. What have they got here? They've got a head from Alien. This, I don't know, I can't remember what this thing was, but it looks lovely. They want $52,000 for it. They've got Superman Returns outfit, $13,000. Jurassic Park amber walking cane, $19,000. Indiana Jones's iconic fedora and bullwhip, $130,000. And a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet, $9,000. Or Mr. Spock's tunic from Star Trek, Series 2, $55,000. Now, I know there's many of you listening who like this kind of stuff. Actually, talking of the rugby, I must mention this, because I found the other day that a lot of businesses in Twickenham up their prices for the rugby. I must be incredibly naive. I didn't realise this. One of the restaurants there, which is a fairly new one, has a minimum spend of £25 a head. There's a pub that charges £60 for their food, and then your booze is on top of it. I mean, it's a bit of a rip-off. There is one fish and chip shop outside of Twickenham where they offer smaller sizes of fish to the rugby crowd. And somebody did tell me there was an ice cream van who was charging £4.50 for a 99. I mean, I do think that's a bit bad. I said to Paul Cooper, who's got the fruit and veg shop, I said, you might as well put your prices up. I said, because everybody else is putting their prices up. Ridiculous, isn't it? Frankie Boyle was appearing, not in Twickenham, but down at Richmond in a big tent down there for the fans. Somebody I spoke to said he's very rude. I said, yeah, but I do think he's quite funny. I do think he's very funny. I mean, provided you can take some of the stuff he said, I'm not sure about that. He makes Katie Hopkins look like Mother Teresa. Sorry, I had to have a quick slurp of my coffee this morning. I'm getting quite into it. Lots of things on, people talking about Doctor Who. Lots of people talking about the Bond theme. I have heard it. I do like it. I can't help like it because I'm just that kind of person. And I didn't like it when I started because I'm not a big Sam Smith fan. But this does grow on you. And I think by the time you see it on the big screen, it'll work. Martin Freeman. I like Martin Freeman. He's a very good-looking boy. Very good-looking boy. He made a direct appeal to David Cameron to ban wild animal acts in circuses. He's written a letter to the Prime Minister urging him to honour a pledge to end the practice. Because they say that the animals are confined to cages or boxcars for long periods, forced to perform painful tricks and are denied opportunities for natural behaviour. The trouble is we've always had circus in this country, and I'm not taking issue with Martin Freeman on it. It's just that as a child, I went to Bertram Mill Circus, which was at Olympia, and Coco the Clown, who was the star of the circus, he wouldn't work in a circus that had animals, and yet he'd grown up working in circuses. If you go to America, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's, they have animals and they have the circus trains, and you've seen all the films. I don't think they do that many. It depends what you call by wild animals. Would you call a horse a wild animal? So in other words, would it be all right to have horses performing in a ring? Because Zippo's circus have horses. Then you have Norman Barrett's budgies. Then you have dog acts. I've seen Pavlov's dog act, where they play football and things like that. Is that okay? Or is it when we get down to lions and tigers and stuff like that? You know, the real dangerous stuff, because normally you wouldn't see them. You don't see animals like that. I always worry about the cages, thinking just in case the thing gets out. It's not going to be sitting there going, hello, would you like to shake my paw? I don't think so. God, you'd be running for the world, wouldn't you, for that one? I think I'd develop new limbs to be running away from it. So I do like seeing animals, but there again, if you're going to close down circuses, then you might as well close down zoos as well at the same time. Whereas ZSL, London Zoo, they have a breeding programme, and that's what they're particularly good at. The Wildcat Survival Trust, they have a breeding programme of all sorts of animals, and they're very, very successful at it. Very successful. What did I watch the other day? I watched that Brian McFadden programme. It's Who's Doing the Dishes. Do you know, I'm warming to it a little bit. I find Brian McFadden terribly irritating. But I'm warming to it. The only problem is they're not putting up the best people. We had Kelly Maloney on there, bit dreary. Linda Lusardi was on the other day. We had some bloke who was on, he's a speedway rider, Carl Fogarty, I think. And I'm looking forward to better names. That's what I'm looking for. But as I say, it's Brian McFadden who's the irritant. He's the kind of person you think, I wish you'd go away. And while you're at it, can you take Anthea Turner with you? And Melanie Sykes? And any one of a number of other people. Also, they were talking today in the paper about Big Brother needing big names. Kevin O'Sullivan saying that, Celebrity Big Brother, he's won it. James Hill. And he revealed, I'd never met a celebrity before. He turned up on the where he thinks his career's going, I've got no idea. But at least, he said, here's to X Factor oddball, Stevie Ritchie and tearless weepy Chloe Jasmine, who actually believe they're still going to get married. Good luck with that, he said. I agree with it. Good luck with your lack of career. Oh, here's this picture of John Terry, who does not have a blue badge, in a disabled bay. Shame on you. Shame on you. Disgraceful, honestly. Perhaps he doesn't care about disabled people. Perhaps he sticks two fingers up to you. He certainly couldn't care less. If you were disabled with a child and you wanted to park there, you can't because Mr. Big Time, Mr. John Terry's parked in your space. What a waste. Jason's eating chocolate eclairs and Milton Keynes. Do you know, I fantasised over, not chocolate eclairs, cream horns the other day, because they apparently did it on the Great British Bake Off, and they had an advert in the paper saying, and they did this the following day after the Great British Bake Off. They then had an advert saying, you can either get these ingredients and make this thing. This is a programme that had only just gone out on the television. The papers weren't even printed at that time. So how do they know? Somebody's obviously tipping them off at Tesco, because it's only Tesco that's doing it. There must be some sort of tie-in deal on the BBC where they tell them exactly what we're doing here, because it's filmed in advance, and then they arrange for the adverts to go in the papers, because I do like a cream horn. I've often liked it. I used to like cream slice, cream horn, apple turnover with cream in as well, or failing that, custard. I'm not too bothered. And in fact, failing that, I just like the donuts, which are cut down the middle and a bit of squirty cream and a little bit of jam on top of it. They're quite nice too. Not all the time, you understand, not all the time. But if Jason can eat chocolate eclairs in Milton Keynes, mind you, if I lived in Milton Keynes, I'd be eating chocolate eclairs as well at the same time. Or having an ice cream from Ross's, who knows. Anyway, over in Towie, as we were in Brentwood the other day, Amy Childs has forgiven her fiancé. Poor old dim Amy. Poor old dim Amy. He sent naked pictures of himself to another woman. This is Bradley Wright. Bradley the Thicko Wright. He broke down in tears and begged the Towie beauty, obviously talking about the wrong person here, this is Amy Childs, beauty she ain't, not to dump him because she was the love of his life. I mean, quite clearly he's a compulsive liar. Of course she's not the love of his life. That's why he sent nude pictures of himself to somebody else. He's a JCB driver. Ooh, big-time job there, eh, boy? Big time. He sent a string of sordid selfies to Mari Amasota, who he knew through a dating website, Plenty of Fish, which he used when he was single. He told Furious Amy that it was Mari who contacted him and that his mates had goaded him into replying, and being the thicko that he is, he decided to send nude pictures of himself. Apparently a source... Sorry. I'll be all right. A source close to Bradley said that Amy was hurt beyond belief, but Bradley has begged and grovelled and poured his heart out, and she's so dumb she'll buy into any old garbage, won't she? He's told her he was egged on to respond to this woman's... Oh, he'll be egged on again, won't he? You can just tell, really. He looks like he needed egging, didn't he? Apparently in the seedy pictures seen by the Sunday Mirror, Bradley poses naked on a bed. He also bragged about cheating with other women. Oh, Amy, you are dumb, aren't you? I mean, come on, grow up, dear. Try and get a brain cell inside that tiny pea-brain head of yours. He's going to do it again and again and again. He's a JCB driver, love. You know, mind you, I suppose it's about your level, really, isn't it? If you're buying into this, more fool you, more fool you. You know, but there again, more fool you, more fool you. Sunday People, on the front page, they've got Ola Jordan. Oh, God, go away, love. Take that boring husband of yours with you. He's done nothing since, has he? Thank God for that. Anyway, she's done a calendar, you know, where she's stuck somebody's head on her, sort of hair on her head. It looks ridiculous. And they've had enough of this at the BBC. They just want these people out, I think. The pathetic amount that depraved Rolf Harris has paid out to a girl he attacked, 76p a day, which is the story that we just mentioned from one of the other newspapers. I am not amused. This is Prince Harry and William off to the rugby again. Must be tough having full-time jobs, mustn't it, really? Oh, sorry, they haven't got full-time jobs. Oh, wait a minute, William's got a full-time job. Wait a minute, No, Harry doesn't do anything. Harry just turns up to any old event and sits there looking like sort of the brother who wandered in from the cold, whilst William tries to get really excited and go, yeah, and Harry's sitting there thinking, I'm still single, I'm still stuck on the shelf. Nobody's going to be interested in me. So they go off to the rugby yet again. Who was there? Tom Jones was getting in the mood, which was good news. And apparently Benedict Cumberbatch is to try his hand at the Cockney twang after promising to appear in EastEnders. Good Lord, what on earth for? What on earth would he do that? And also one of these thugs, and here he is. Here he is. This is Billy Midmore. He's an ugly. You know, you want to see what ugly looks like? This is him. He's on the run at the moment. He's on the run, although he doesn't look, being the size he is, that he can run too far. He's one of Britain's most wanted men, together with his brother Geoffrey. He's been accused of throwing acid in the face of a woman. He uses the nickname Billah Kid Mujahideen after turning to Islam. He's quite clearly a bit sick in the head, this one here. And he fled the family home after he was put on police bail. Police last night refused to confirm or deny the claim. Apparently, a cartel of South London gangsters have put a 10 grand bounty on each of their heads. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, Billy. Not looking promising, love, is it, for you and your brother? If some gangsters have put a bounty on your head of 10 grand, hardly going to be long, is it, really? I'd give yourself up very quickly to the police. It would make it easier, wouldn't it, than somebody claiming the 10 grand and you're found in the middle of a field. Know what I'm saying? Get yourself into the police as quick as possible. It would save an awful lot of time and trouble. Awful lot of time and trouble. Cameron says stop the squealers. They still want to know who leaked the story about the pig's head, which might, according to the book, be true or it might not be true. They don't know. It's up to you to decide. But the name that they've put in one of the papers today is not the name that I'd heard. Not the name that I'd heard. And I spoke to a well-known journalist the other day who said it's so-and-so. So, oh, look, David Beckham again. What's he doing here? David Beckham, they now call him football legend. I mean, that was years ago, wasn't it? He just advertises whiskey and underpants now, you know, as he's jetting around the world, which is good. And he's helping the world's poorest kids. He's teaming up with Ban Ki-moon to launch Voices of Youth. And so that's sweet, isn't it? And David Beckham hopes the 15-year initiative will make a huge difference. Well, that's what you can do, isn't it, when you're very successful. The Pope's preaching can't hide the Catholic guilt, says Terry Christian. And because, let's face it, you know, the amount of abuse that's gone on within the Catholic Church, I mean, you could write volumes of books on. I did enjoy the film that Sky showed about Scientology. That didn't bear too much looking at, did it? All sorts of odd things going on inside Scientology. And he says TV personality Katie Hopkins has moved jobs from one paper to another title, apparently, but I'm betting she'll still be writing the same old hateful garbage. Oh, Terry, grow up, dear, please. She only does it every so often to wind up little nobodies like you, because when it's laughingly down as TV and radio presenter, I think just TV pundit, and that's just Channel 5, isn't it? I don't think anybody else really uses you, unless it's up north and we don't see it down here. He calls her the horse-faced harridan. Oh, dear, honestly. So bitter from somebody whose career is behind him, who seems to find a ready and willing audience of bigoted fans wherever she churns out her nonsense. It's only every so often, Terry. I mean, come on. I mean, let's face it, this is probably the first mention your column's ever had. Nobody even knows who you are. You know, at least you've had a mention. She's done what she set out to achieve. She ended up with a television programme. She was talked about on everything. She's appeared on radio, appeared on television. She has a column. She earns a lot more money than you. And all through... And if you actually analyse it, as opposed to just jumping on the silly little let's attack Katie Hopkins bandwagon, you'll tend to find out that what she's talking, in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, is just a whole lot of truth. And that's why nobody talks about your column, because it's just recycled naff. Recycled naff. You know, come on, for goodness sake, up your ante a little bit. Knocking another columnist is never really particularly clever. A bit like me sitting here knocking another radio presenter. Nick Grimshaw has got this little thing that goes on up north. I mean, you don't want to be mentored by him, do you? A man who's hemorrhaging audience on his radio programme, now even more so. And now, you know, you think, oh, I'm being mentored by Grimmy, because he really knows absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. You're only going to watch him on the programme. Seriously, you'd have more animation from a glass of water. It's really embarrassing, really embarrassing. And so they go, oh, am I going to Barbados? Am I going to the Bahamas? Am I going to be mentored in the Seychelles? No, you're going to be mentored in Manchesterford. Well, you might as well give up now, mightn't you, ladies and gentlemen? The Hajj. And what it is that attracts people to go there after, what was it, 760 people died. Way overcrowded, terrible crowd controls, got worse and worse over the years, and we've had an accident before. Now this would be the worst disaster. Also, Stig's going to be looking at the Pope over in America, calling, I think, for the abolition of the death penalty. Perhaps they'll be questioning about the human rights issues within the Roman Catholic Church and the paedophile priests that they still seem to be having. My friend John Jackson wants to know what's going on with Rooney's hair. He says, balding on the crown now. He said, just shave it off, for goodness sake. Makes it so much easier. They've got a lovely story on the front page of the Daily Star today. I can't tell you what it is, because it's too rude for this programme. You'll have to actually have a look. And James Alexandru. Actually, there were loads of police this morning down on the way to the Hammersmith flyover. There was about seven police cars and an ambulance and a car that they'd surrounded, and I thought, oh, that looked a bit exciting, but I was on the other side of the road. James Alexandru is still hearing plenty of police sirens and helicopters outside, so he's got pictures which were taken a while ago as well. He said, I'm tempted to go and have a look. Tempted to go. It's this anti-gentrification. Now, as far as I know, and I might have got this wrong, gentrification is where they try and upmarket an area, isn't it? And so the house prices go up. I would have thought that would have been good. That would have been good. Because let's face it, you know, the people who've got, you know, this was around Brick Lane, I think, so that must be where James is. And it's a case of people want to sort of upmarket, they put posh flats in. The moment they pull down a building and put in posh flats, you're on a hiding to nothing. We've got more flats going up in Twickenham than I've ever seen in my entire life. And they seem to be selling at ludicrous prices. So perhaps we've been gentrified, or perhaps you would assume that Twickenham was gentrified already. Over in Brick Lane, obviously not so. But he says, I'm tempted to go and have a look at it. So, stay safe, I think, would be the thing. Oh, it's also a supermoon eclipse tomorrow. A supermoon eclipse. Is that going to make any difference to us? Don't think so, is it? What are we all going to grow? 3 heads or something? Or 4 willies or something like that? I think it's highly... I don't know why I thought of 4 willies. I thought I was thinking of 4 willies in a funeral. I don't know why I was thinking of that either. That sounds even more bizarre, doesn't it? Although it would have made the film marginally more exciting. For my friend Alison G., she says the long-awaited Come Sing event is today, and she's looking forward to it. The singers should come to rehearse from 10 a.m. You know what this is. It's the Armed Man at Kempton Park. The concert is at 3. 40 choirs are coming, lots of individual singers. It's a Voices for Hospices choir event in aid of the hospice movement, so a great cause. Sir Carl Jenkins, who composed the Armed Man, A Mass for Peace, will be there. The band of the Honourable Artillery Company will be singing rugby anthems too, as the event is part of the Festival of Rugby. Lots of parking at Kempton. Weather forecast is good, should be fab, and they've got a website. It's VFH Choir. That's Voices for Hospice Choir. So VFH, capital V, lowercase FH choir.com. And you can sing as well. You can go. If you love singing, then you should go along there. Kempton Park. And so if you're singing, rehearsing from 10 o'clock this morning, so wakey, wakey, rise and shine, and the concert's at 3 with 40 choirs and individual singers, it's gonna be a very, very nice day, and I wish you all the very best and lots of money. One here, Richard. No, sorry, this is one on Strictly. Have you noticed the inane clapping that the audience does when Dave Archer is conducting the lovely band? Now you can't hear the music for the mad clapping, hence I went to bed at 7:15, Steve, and left the wife downstairs. Happy Saturday night. Yes, I mean, do you know, I wouldn't even know who's conducting the band, so you're one up and we are. One up. And Sean says, if you don't believe in psychics and mediums, why do the police use psychics and mediums? They don't, dear. It's just a story in the papers. You must grow up and try and come into the real world. It's not your fault you believe in stuff like that. A QI fact. Actually, what did I get sent the other day? I got sent a QI book, I think. I'm pretty certain there's a QI book, and I love QI. They say it would take one person 1,000 years to watch every video on YouTube. Also, how come, says Len, as I get older, I'm 64 at present, the years seem to go by quicker and quicker, don't they just? I was only saying to Peter Andre the other day via a medium, or it could have been a large, I was saying to him, it's going to whiz through really quickly. You're 42, pushing 43 now. Before you know where you are, you're going to be 50, and then you're way too old. Way too old. You can't then start selling yourself, dressing in all these... You have to put some old men clothes on. No point wearing this sort of young stuff. You look silly. Ridiculous. And Nikki says, I mentioned to you recently how lovely Peter Andre is, and I was lucky enough to meet him on This Morning. Oh, God, here we go. Stalker time. He was brilliant on Strictly, hence he's top of the leaderboard. It's rather obvious that you are jealous of him, and no lady will get a headache with Peter in their bed. You are deluded, aren't you? You really are cracked. You really are cracked. It's so sweet. I always love the Peter Andre fans because they're generally speaking not in the real world. They're generally living on cloud la la land, aren't they? On a cloud with sort of Pizzi. Well, of course, you're never going to be in that position, actually, Nicky, because he loves his kids. Loves his kids, and that's the way it goes. But it's so sweet that you made a contribution to life. My mum tells me the prices, says Lee, in some stores increase in Clacton during the summer. Really? How would they do that? I mean, to be honest with you, I understand for the rugby, I understand how the thing works, that people do it, and they put the prices up because they just take advantage of the fans coming in. So that's, that's about as good as it gets, I suppose. It doesn't, people seem to like paying the prices. If you don't, you might as well take your own sandwiches, mightn't you, really? Richard in Hudsfield said, I'm fantastic in bed. I can sleep for hours. Yes, the sleeping for hours bit I like. And I rarely get headaches, says Jan in South Norwood. And if I do get one, I use Tiger Balm ointment. This is, you buy a little tin of this and drink lots of water, and that does the trick. Still haven't ventured over to Brentwood. Not sure if I ever will, but she's at the Ark in Caterham today for the Holistic and Mystic Show. I'm sure you have a nice day down there. At least the weather's nice, isn't it, today? You don't have to worry about the weather. It's supposed to be good. And then somebody says, so Carl Fogarty is some sort of speedway rider. Yep, he's some sort of speedway rider. He's retired, isn't he? I mean, he's some sort of speedway rider. What do you expect? Going to put down his inside leg measurement? Some people are so stupid, aren't they? You sometimes wonder about... How do you get out of bed in the morning? Do you need help? Oh, matron, sorry, I forgot about that. Steve, wrap up warm if you're walking in Regent's Park. It's cold in this neck of the woods today. Gary says, oh dear, we found a Peter Andre Gary fan. Gets the highest score from the judges on Strictly. It's only day one. They haven't done anything yet. Goodness sake, honestly. And Steve, you're so funny, the slug and lettuce story. And I love that, actually. And going to the door and scaring Jehovah's Witnesses. Yes, that's quite an easy thing to do, actually. Quite an easy thing. Steve, I'll never understand how people like Nick Grimshaw get on the radio and then start mixing with celebrities. Anybody can play records and jabber, says Steve. Oh, if only 'twere true. If only were true. I can remember somebody saying that to me some years ago. They said, oh, anybody can sit there and do what you do. You just sit down there and talk rubbish. And you go, really? You think anybody can do it? Why aren't they? Why aren't they? But the truth of the matter is, it's not just being able to do it for one programme or for 1 week or for 1 year. It's doing it as a career. It's doing it, and not only doing it, but also getting the audience figures as well. That's it. You know, so it's no good saying, oh, anybody can sit down there and introduce records. They might be able to. Anybody can sit there and go, this is, that was, here we go. You know, I can do it myself. Down 22, up 16 places. In comes Stevie Wonder at its fingertips. You know, you can do things like that. Do a quick weather forecast and a time check and tell them the radio station. But it's not like that. That's not what radio is nowadays. That's hospital radio. That's the only place where you get time checks. So if you're lying in bed and you've got some illness which is going to be there for some time, somebody's reminding you on the radio that you're listening to, or not as the case may be, you know, every 3 minutes. It's now 7:45. It's now 12 minutes to 8. It's now... And you're lying there thinking, why don't you just shut up? Why don't you just shut up? It's awful. There was a piece in the... Carol McGiffin, in her column today, she's become more feisty as she's gone on. And I could phone her now, actually, and ask her. Because we actually think exactly the same. She talks about, so Celebrity Big Brother is finished. James Hill, the dork from The Apprentice winning. Slightly peculiar boy. And to say, you know, I mean, he's the most sane and reasonable of the lot, but he'll disappear without trace because nobody's interested in him. Who cares? But she says here, this series was my favourite. The array of awful women. Jenna Jameson, porno star. Janice Dickinson, mad as a fruitcake. And Farrah Abraham, cheap, tacky old tart. The ditziness of my mate Sherry Hewson and Bobby Davro. Ghastly. And then there were fights on the spin-off bit on the side, which I got to witness firsthand. And then there was the questionable relationship between Stevie and Chloe Jasmine, which appears to have culminated in his desire to get well away from her for at least a week, which is the best idea. She's quite clear. She's not fit for purpose, this woman. She's quite mad. Who can blame him? This spindly bundle of neediness with her fake crying, lady di, puppy dog-eyed look and black and white movie diva act would drive the nicest bloke like Stevie to distraction. In other words, everybody said to him, stay well away from her. She's not all there in the head. She's seriously... But Carol does talk about sloshed posh is one of us. This is after poor old Victoria hung on to David and tried to look sober, but of course we all knew she was gone. I had a little drinky woo. I had a little drink. David, I had a little drink. Oh, God, I need toilet. I need toilet. 7:45. I'm not betraying a confidence, I don't think, because I've said this before on the programme. I bought the One Direction concert. It's on DVD. So, in other words, the guys go out. This must have been done, I think, last year or the year before. And I remember coming on air saying, I've just bought this thing. Having seen Take That... and their tour where they do... I mean, they brought on the elephant, there were pyrotechnics, there were dancers. You could see where your money had gone. You could absolutely see it. When you went to a One Direction show, there was nothing. It was the walk and talk show, as I described it. I said they sort of show a little video, and then they jump on stage. There's hardly any interaction between them. They quite clearly don't like each other. They do it. Harry Styles emerges as the one who's sort of the front singer. That's what, you know, they all get screamed at when they go, here's Harry, scream, here's so-and-so, here's the fat bloke. Yeah, scream again, everybody screams. And obviously the kids like it. 15,000 girls and a few stray boys can't be wrong because they like that kind of thing. But when it comes to laziness and sloppiness in a show, they win hands down. So my goddaughter said to me yesterday... And she's 11, and she's quite sassy. She's quite, you know, she knows what she likes and things like that. She went to see One Direction, and she got a VIP ticket, and it was £100. She's 11. Admittedly, she didn't it wasn't her own money, quite clear, although she might have saved it. She's quite good at saving. And she went to see One Direction, and she loved it. Because she gets a goodie bag. She got a goodie bag with a charger in with One Direction emblazoned on it. It's all to do with merchandising. But it's what I call a sloppy show. It's called they're walking through it. They couldn't really give a 4X. They literally walk on stage in their normal clothes, and then they walk off stage again. And I felt a bit cheated. Although, however, I did discover that my 11-year-old, she said to me yesterday, she said, Uncle Steve, she said. I said, yes. She said, do you see Dave Berry? So I said, I see Dave Berry every day. She said, do you? She got really quite animated by that. I said, yeah. I said, I see Dave every day. So she said, wow. I said, would you like me to get his autograph for you? So she said, can you? And I said, yeah, I'll just ask him. So she said, wow. So I said, so anyway, in the meanwhile, I sent him a text. saying that my goddaughter is a huge fan of you both, and she'd love an autograph. So he's going to do it tomorrow. And then he sent me a thing back saying if she wants to pop in for 10 minutes. I thought she lives down in Essex. She couldn't pop in for. She doesn't drive. She's only 11. She's not a pilot or something. But I thought that was really sweet. And so she's very influenced by what's going on around her. But the £100 ticket, she didn't think that was excessive. She didn't think it was £100 wasted. She thought, because she got to see One Direction. But as I say, for adults watching it, you'd be a bit disappointed if you've seen Take That. If you've, in fact, seen any artist over the past few years, you'll begin to wonder, how they're actually getting away with it. And the answer is they are getting away with it. Talking of getting away with it, here he is, the most miserable man. God knows we've seen him when he's been so miserable. This is dreary old boy George, who turns up on The Voice. Oh, God, why we have to put up with him, I've got no idea. So you've got William on there, not his real name, and you've got the Kaiser Chiefs' Ricky Wilson, and you've got Emma Willis and Marvin Humes present. Emma Willis is 13. Is she really? Good Lord, I didn't know that. She looks very good for that. And they've also got various other people, so they're sort of there. But boy George, I hope he's going to behave himself. He can be quite dreadful, quite dreadful. Another one here. Carl Fogarty was a multiple world champion world superbike rider, not speedway. Who gives a toss? I really couldn't care less. He was just on this programme about cooking. I mean, do me a favour, please. Hardly the butcher's thing if you ride a motorbike, is it, really? 84850. Apparently, if you have a headache, Mike says, hit your big toe with a hammer. It won't cure the headache, but it gives you something else to think about. I quite like that, actually. I quite like that. 84850, steve@lbc.co.uk. And Margaret says, that's rubbish. People can't do what you do. You've got verbal talent. Yes, I mean, that's why it always makes me laugh, actually. Always makes me laugh when people say, oh, anybody can be a DJ. But talking about the people who actually, play music for a living, you think, well, not anybody can. That's why there's such a small group of people who can do it, and do it with great success. That's the trick. The trick is doing it with great success, so it appeals to a lot of people. I couldn't care less whether one or two people don't like me. Why would it make any difference to me? I've got the biggest audience figures going, thank you. Stig will be looking at religion. What makes people want to take part in mass religion? And the truth of the matter is, I don't quite know, actually. I really don't know. But it's a rite of passage, I think. People want to go on these rites of passages. Sunday Express this morning, free dog food. The stuff they come up with. I quite like the idea of free ice cream sundae. We can't just go and get it. It's at Beefeater. And you've got to sort of go there and have a meal to get your free thing. A picture of Wills and Harry being really, really busy in life and going to the rugby. I wonder if they had to pay for their tickets. I wonder. Is there really life on Mars? No, there isn't. Is there life anywhere? No, there isn't. There is a terrible picture, though, of the Christian martyrs. And this is the body of a man crucified by ISIS. And it's just absolutely appalling. These murdering people, they need to be taken out and blown up. The more of them blown up, the happier I am. Couldn't care less whether they're Brits who've been radicalised or whatever else. Cliff Richard, rolling back the years, they're paying £1,250 for a ticket. I think he's worth it. He's 75. He's a pop legend. And his army of supporters are backing him in huge numbers, which I knew they would. They're fanatical about Cliff. They're not going to get, any old Tom, Dick and Harry coming out of the woodwork to claim that things have happened in the past. And, of course, that's bearing in mind he's never been charged with anything at all. They're not going to get that put them off at all. They're going there to support Cliff Richard because they've had a terrible time. One here. This is the BBC journalist who had a dramatic on-camera confrontation with Scientologists, has become such good friends with one that he went to his wedding. Did you watch the Scientology programme? Slightly disturbing. 80,000 people went out to meet the Razzmatazz Pope. Yep, His Holiness is out there, and he's doing the business. And that's all they care about. Camilla Tominay is talking about with Jeremy Kyle. She thinks it'd be very cathartic if he actually went on to television to talk about the fact that his wife has been cheating with a polo player about half his age, but just purely for the sex bit. I mean, terribly humiliating, whichever way you look at it, because he is a man who shouts at people on television for their own marriages breaking down and sleeping around and things like that. Perhaps he should put his own wife on there and do a lie detector test. That would make it interesting, wouldn't it? The Tory party last night at war over Piggate. This is in the Mail today. This was the paper that serialised the most boring book in the entire world. This is after senior their allies are the Prime Minister, identified an MP. The man they believe is behind the claim on David Cameron is Mark Field. Well, he said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's furious. And he said he will track down those in Westminster who'd falsely accused him, because there is another name doing the rounds, and it's certainly not his. Certainly not his. So I wonder if that will come out this week. Lord Ashcroft says he's out to get arrested. The new fuel con that hits every driver. I'm bored with fuel cons. Aren't you bored with fuel cons? All these things that go on. I don't know what's going on. And in the paper today, the rapist who fled Britain disguised as sister is captured in Hong Kong honey trap. Brilliant. And the James Bond theme, it gets people talking, doesn't it? I do like it. Listen to it 2 or 3 times. Listen to it 2 or 3 times, and I promise you, you will like it. You will like it. Oh, and Eugenie. This is Prince Andrew's one of 2 useless children who has holidays. When she began her new job at an art gallery, that must be really tough, mustn't it? Should we hang the picture straight, dear? Should we move it? Oh, dear. Want to buy a picture? Thank you. Just a shop girl, aren't you? Anyway, her dedication to the role wasn't completely boundless. So the first 10 weeks at the gallery, she took 25 days holiday. In 10 weeks. Useless lump, honestly. And she jetted across for a birthday party. Apparently, Fergie's got one. And she's been banned from going to it. Lord, Fergie, another birthday. What's that? 70, 85? Difficult to tell, isn't it, really? And SNP Chief Nicola Sturgeon, backtracks on a vow to give a home to Syrian refugees. To Sky News, yes, I'd be absolutely happy to do that, give home to a refugee, as part of a bigger, wider, more organised approach. This week, she didn't say, says her spokesperson, there were any plans for that to happen. So, in other words, lies, and then there's politicians. That's it for this morning. Bless you for your company. I'm back again this evening at 9 o'clock with In Conversation. It's a repeat of the programme this morning. And you can go online and have a look at the videos, which are very good. Niamh Cusack and Nick Hewer. Really good, really nice. So enjoy those. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning between 4 and 6:30. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Steve Allen Show. It might be a little bit of a wrap-up warm day, but at least no rain. And don't forget, you can listen to LBC whenever you want, wherever you are. You download the free LBC app for your mobile or tablet, and you never miss a moment. At 10 o'clock this morning, it's my friend Beverly Turner. It's going to be very controversial. I just fear today is going to be a controversial day.